It's a big one. Alright, that's where that's going to live for at least for now. It is stinking heavy. I'm going to have to pull the sway bar off so I can park the car in here comfortably without getting my wheel on it and stuff, but it's going to be a long time before I get this in the truck because there's a lot more involved with this project, because this is going to have, you know, airbags and stuff and links and all that before it goes in. So don't even worry about seeing this in an upcoming build. It's going to be a long time. This is just where I'm going to store it for now. I'll probably get moved again later. Alright guys, so today I'm bored, so we're going to work on something that we probably shouldn't work on yet. That is my Dana 50. So what I'll end up doing is just pulling it apart and seeing how far apart I can get. Well, I'm probably going to leave the pumpkin assembled, but axles and hubs and all of that, sorry about the framing, and pull all that out and just kind of see what comes of it, what I can learn about it. Lost a lot because the camera for some reason just shut itself off. So I'm not going to know how much I lost until I get into editing. Luckily, I've still got one more side to cut, so maybe you get to watch this side. See, I got a nice good clean cut going around both of them. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. I'm thinking something I may try is under here. I'm going to learn how to weld cast iron first, But then I'm going to see if maybe I can just add a little meat back into here by just running some weld in there to get a little strength back in. It's not the end of the world. Like I said, this is going to be the short side, so it doesn't have anywhere near as much stress on it. But it'd make me feel better. And yes, I'm going to clean everything in here thoroughly before I reuse it. Which, by the way, the ring and pinion in here is garbage to me anyways, because I got to switch out for 410 gears. These are 373s. So now we're going to do some measuring side to side just to get ourselves a baseline. Then from there we will get our tubes laid out, cut them, and then maybe clean some stuff up. But really that's as far as I plan to get in this video. So there's my current measurements from right on this edge to the very outer edge of the C here, and I got the same thing for that side. So the reason why I'm keeping track of this is the goal is when I go to put it back together, I want to see very, very similar numbers here, just on opposite sides, to make sure that my stock axle shafts are going to be reusable. We got to cut the tubes. Spent a lot of time dilly-dallying. Well, that's the whole reason why we're out here. Cut these tubes. Now I just got to get a nice line somewhere easy to work with on both of them. Make her cut. Inches out. Still not marking very good. So 5 inches out, right there. Now we're going to take our pipe wrap. I got a nice square line to cut around. So the pipe wrap's not going to fit on this side, so my idea is maybe I can use this hose clamp, and just as I'm pulling it down, hopefully I can square it up. I'm going to pull a couple measurements going from this side to the weld here and see if it stays pretty consistent. I think it's safe to assume that's as square as I'm going to get it. So, since I have some visual aids and I want to show you, let's talk about why I picked a Dana 50. Now, a lot of people are going to think that that was dumb and that I should have gone and got a Dana 60 because they're available and they're cheap. Not true. They are harder to find and they are usually very expensive. Most people won't sell them for less than like 600 bucks. This axle, I bought it at the junkyard, $150, and I brought it home the day I went looking for it. Available, cheap. Also, the Dana 50 is almost completely identical to a Dana 60 with the exception of the ring and pinion. The ring and pinion in this Dana 50 is a 9-inch diameter, give or take a little bit. The Dana 60 is a little bigger, like 9 3/4 or 10 or something along those lines. So, you ultimately end up with a little bit smaller of a ring and pinion. The other difference is the axle shafts. Now, you can see that it tapers down right here, and that's what people don't like about these. This is a 30 spline inner axle that tapers down from, I think this is 1.5 inches, and then you got the outer axle shaft, which is small the entire way through, and it is also only a 30 spline. The Dana 60 is a 35 spline on both ends. Now, when I said these are almost identical axles, here let me get into the details on that. This is the C. You just watched me cut it off. The C is exactly the same as what's on a Dana 60. I mean, exactly the same. They are interchangeable. The tube is exactly the same as a Dana 60. This is a 3.5-inch tube with a 1/2-inch wall. Exactly the same as a Dana 60. The knuckle. It's pretty heavy, I'm not picking it up. This is the same as a Dana 60. Exactly the same, I'm not 100% sure on it. I think the Dana 60 has an extra bolt on here for the unit bearing, but from what I understand is it is the same. The unit bearing. Now this is one that a lot of people hate, and I cannot understand why. So the unit bearing, you can replace this. This is all one replaceable unit instead of doing the service bearings like older axles have. Well, one thing this does is it shortens down your clearance here, so that's cool. Two, it's easily serviced. You rip 4 bolts off, you put 4 bolts in, it's done. No need to get greasy and dirty with it. And 3, this is the exact same part, more or less, that they use in the, I think it's 2006 and newer Dana 60. The biggest difference is the hole in here is only clearanced for the 30 spline shaft. If you bore it out bigger to fit the 35 spline, which I do believe is the same size as this back here, which, you know, kind of looks like it fits to me, but I'm not 100% sure how that works. You can bore this out to fit the 35 spline, and then now you have a Dana 60 axle shaft in a Dana 50, Dana 60 knuckle and hub and unit bearing. So really, the reasons why people don't like these axles is probably 95% this piece right here, because this is not as strong as the Dana 60. Well, my truck, and I'm pretty sure I opened this video by saying this, doesn't go off-road. Hardly ever. It's almost a pavement princess. And because of that, I don't need this to be as strong as possible. All this has to do is if I'm in a little bit of mud or a little bit of loose dirt, I can kick it into 4-wheel drive and it will turn all 4 tires. I am not rock bouncing, I'm not rock climbing, I'm not doing any of that stuff. Therefore, all I need is what I have. Same thing goes for the ring and pinion here. It's hard to find lockers for the Dana 50 because they're just not as popular. Dana 60, you can get lockers in them pretty easily. I don't need a locker, I don't plan to buy a locker, so this works for me. The best thing about it is it uses the same cover as a Dana 60 as well as all those other matching parts. So when everything's said and done and it's mounted back in my truck, unless you really know what you're looking at, you're going to think it's a Dana 60. Because they are that close when it comes to their total look. So, figured I'd have that little chat with you. Oh, one more thing to add in. High pinion. This differential is a high pinion because it's a Ford axle. Chevy never did that. So, I get the benefit of having a high pinion because I decided to buy a Ford axle and instead of trying to hunt down a Chevy. That's not as important because, like I said, my truck doesn't go off-road. So, that's all I got for you in this video. I'm just going to get cleaned up. This is going to stay disassembled for a while. Most of the reason why I cut it up today was because I wanted this to be a more storable piece. I wanted it smaller, easier to maneuver, and this made that happen. It made it a lot lighter in 3 pieces versus 1. And also, I want to get a tube machined that fits inside the bore here, so that I can reassemble these axle pieces using that tube as an alignment piece, and it adds a little bit of strength back. So I'm not too particularly interested in, well, I don't have the money to do that right now. It's hard times here, so it's gonna wait. But that's all I got for you on my Dana 50 today. I know that was a little bit of a long-winded comparison there between 50 and 60, but I just really wanted to get that out there because I've heard so many people talking crap on the internet about the Dana 50 when in the big picture you're not really going to break it unless you're doing some pretty hardcore wheeling with some really big tires. If you were in a Jeep with some 35s, you probably will never break it. If you were in a crew cab with 37s, like I got, you might break it. But I'm not going to push it that hard, so it won't be a problem for me. But like I said, thanks for watching. I'll catch you later.